Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another video with me, Thomas, from the YouTube channel Doing Everything Blind. I have my amazing friend Haley Tyrrell here on FaceTime, and welcome back to my channel. It's so good to have you on my channel again. In this video, we are going to talk about tech and how our states, the state of Connecticut and the state of Illinois, that's where Haley lives, in Illinois. We're going to talk about, like vocational counselors and, how they don't understand that we need certain pieces of technology and all that good stuff.
Yes, and before we get started, I wanted to say to all the lovely YouTube viewers out there, this was just a random tangent that we were talking about tonight.
Yeah.
And
we're just like, hey, why not? Let's do a video.
Yep.
Yeah. And before we start, please subscribe to our good friend Daniel Sumrow. So his channel is Daniel Sumrow Main Channel. He has an amazing channel, so please subscribe to it, or else. No, I'm just kidding, but seriously. Please subscribe to it. All right. So what would you like to talk about?
Well, why don't you start? So you've been having an issue for the past how many months that your counselor will not give you?
So I have a Voice Note Apex, guys, which is a product that Humanware used to make. It's a note taker, and
used to being the operative word here, people. If you call anybody who has a Voice Note Apex, be aware. Voice Note, braille note, potato, water, whatever.
Yeah.
Sorry, I've been feeling like crap for the past couple of weeks, and
You're good.
my voice
You're good.
Anybody who has a Apex model, be aware, and then Thomas, I'll let you keep going.
Okay.
Be aware, they will not, I repeat, will not support it. If you call, they do not provide assistance. They do not at all whatsoever give you parts for it.
Nope. You can't even get the battery for it anymore. No, I was telling them you can't even get the battery for it anymore.
Yes, you have to send the Apex in to get the battery replaced.
Which is a crock of shit, but anyway. Well, in my opinion.
Yes, it is a crock of shit.
In my opinion, but anyway.
It is a crock of shit because if you don't have a functioning note taker because of this, and your state will not get you one, and you do not have the ways to attain one, you're screwed.
Yeah. So I have a Voice Note Apex, and since July, it feels like the backspace key is going to fall off. And recently I called my vocational counselor. I asked her if she could get me a Braille Note Touch, and she said no. She said she cannot get me a Braille Note Touch unless I have a job, which in my opinion is very stupid and ridiculous.
In my opinion, it's very stupid too, and here's why. Not everybody wants a job. If you are a blind person, employers will not hire you unless you have a college degree. I'm going to tell you something, people. One size does not fit all. Not every blind person wants to go to college.
Right.
Not every blind person wants to have a full-time job. Right. I am in that realm.
Right.
Okay? There are so many things that you do, Thomas, as a YouTuber,
right,
and that I used to do as a fellow podcast co-host with Daniel,
right,
for example, that you can earn income.
Exactly.
And, okay, it is bullshit that people discriminate against blind people.
Yeah.
But, all that aside, these counselors, and I'm not saying everybody has to be, Miss Perfect Pants and understand what we need and what we, I know exactly what you're going through because I know how you feel. There are two types of counselors. There are two types of people who work with us. Right. There's people who do it for the money. There's people who do it because it's what they think they wanted to do, and they went to school for it, whether it's TVI, O&M,
Right.
Voc Rehab, whatever the case is.
Right.
Then there are the people who have the big hearts.
Right.
And they do it because the job that they have does not feel like a job to them, and they can do it in their frickin' sleep.
Right.
And it is a shame that it is a shame that people don't understand that.
Yeah.
Thomas and I were just talking before we started this video.
Yeah.
And we were talking about how with the Apex situation, I was asking him, what type of technology do you have? He doesn't have a computer.
And I don't know how to use a computer.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
And not every blind person uses a computer.
Nope.
Shout out Humanware. You people are amazing.
Shout out to Steve from Humanware. He's amazing.
Yes, Steve from Humanware. You, my dear, are an amazing tech guy. I hope this doesn't sound creepy, but I love you. You're an amazing tech person. You've helped me out so much. You've helped Daniel out so much.
And me.
And Thomas, and so many people.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you something. You guys' product, the Braille Note Touch, when you guys came out with it, it's the best thing you ever invented. I know personally for me, I had an Apex as well. I have never used a voice note, but I have used the Braille Note Apex. So that has your Braille display as well as your note taker.
Yeah.
And
so for those of you who don't know, the difference between the voice note and the Braille note is the Braille note has a Braille display and thumb keys. The voice note does not have a Braille display and thumb keys.
Okay. Yes. So when I have always had, because of the fact that I have sensory processing disorder, I have always had a love-hate relationship with the computer.
Right.
And the touch, when that came out, made it so that us used to be Apex users can do so much more. So much more than we ever imagined. We were just talking, weren't we, Thomas, about how my iPhone used to be my daily driver as far as what I downloaded apps onto.
Right.
And what I did so much on.
Right.
And I'm not saying that the Braille Note Touch Plus is everything, but I'm going to tell you something, at least, again, from my personal experience.
Right.
From an SPD perspective, and I understand that SPD, just like autism and Asperger's, which, okay, I'm probably on the spectrum, have never been diagnosed, whatever. I get it. It's a spectrum. One size does not fit all.
No.
But for me, one of the biggest pluses of the Braille Note Touch Plus, no pun intended there, is Touch Braille.
Right. Yep.
For those of you who don't know and who don't have a Braille Note Touch Plus, what is it, Thomas, that you're using on your voice note? What have us blind people been using for years?
The keyboard.
Yes. That keyboard to some people, unfortunately, sounds like somebody is freaking jamming a knife into your ear.
Right.
And it's like somebody's jamming toothpicks into your ear and poking constantly. Then they came out with this thing called Touch Braille, which, for those of you who use Braille screen input on the iPhone, which I just learned how to use, a shout out again to Daniel. Thank you again for that.
Yes, big shout out to Daniel. You're awesome.
Sorry we keep bringing you up, but you're awesome.
Yep.
The Braille screen input is basically where somehow there's these sensors in the phone that, first of all, you have to have it configured. But you put your fingers on the screen as if you were typing on your Perkins Brailler.
Right.
And it's you're able to somehow you're able to type on the touch screen and it knows what you're doing. I don't know. It's smart technology, but it's so quiet. And the only difference is you do hear, at least if you have voiceover on, you do hear speech saying, A, B, C, D, E. And then if you want to do a space, you swipe your finger to the right, your index finger, and then it'll repeat the letters again that you typed.
Right.
Touch Braille is very similar. You place all 10 fingers on the screen, and when you do that, you feel a vibration. The phone does not do that, but the touch does. And that's your signal. Okay, I'm ready. I know where your fingers are. I'm ready for you to start typing. When Peter Tusick, shout out to you, Peter, you're amazing. When he showed my amazing mother, who you guys have heard about, shout out, Mom, if you hear this video, you're the best mom in the whole world. She had a meeting. She had Peter come to the Chicago Lighthouse, or from the Chicago Light, or somewhere from Chicago. We went and picked him up one day, and my mom took him to see some of her students, and had some students that I think my mom supervises their teacher. And it was me and Peter and my mom and a couple of these students in Rochelle. If any of you from Illinois know where that is.
Yeah.
And he brought the Braille Note Touch, and this was when the Touch was in its infancy. This is before the Touch Plus came out. Mm-hmm. And when he showed me Touch Braille for the first time, I kid you not, I started to cry.
Yeah.
Because I don't think people understand. This is what I mean by people not understanding from personal experience.
Right.
And the counselors not understanding what we need and why we need it. Right. And not wanting to bend things for us and be more understanding and change the rules and not deal with these stupid freaking mandates that they are required to abide by.
Right. So
Touch Braille is the main thing.
What I'm going to do, guys, is I'm going to create a file on my voice note. And I'm going to write what I want to say to my vocational counselor. And then I'm going to email it. I'm going to email the file to her.
Is it all right if I keep going?
No, I just wanted to say that. Go ahead.
So I was in a very similar situation. My mom got me a Victor Reader Trek. And I, wanting to take good care of my technology, I asked HumanAware how to properly clean the device. And I'm not going to get into that, but basically, okay, whatever, I will. One of the things they said was to, clean it. If you want to use an alcohol wipe, that's fine. But and again, guys, call the HumanAware people. They will help you because
yes, they will.
They will. And I'm not saying that you guys can't trust me, but I'm in no place right now to be extremely descriptive. But they told me what to do, and my mom told me that, okay, you can clean the Trek, but just don't rub can I swear?
Go ahead.
Don't rub the hell out of it. Well, because of my sensory processing disorder, one of the ways that it manifests for me is I cannot accurately tell how much pressure I am putting on objects. So not only was I cleaning the device, but I was causing little scratches to be on the device because I was rubbing the hell out of the top surface.
Yeah.
So to make a long story short, I got really freaked because what if liquid got into the device when I was cleaning it? What if, you know, and I'm not trying to catastrophize, but being a blind person, you don't know.
Right.
And there's been so many times where my mother has told, oh my God, I wanted to punch her upside the head when she's, sorry, Mom, if you heard that, if you listen to this, but oh my God, it makes me so mad. Because you would tell me, it works. No, it doesn't. You're not the one who uses this stuff. And that's the thing, too, that we're talking about our counselors and stuff. They are not aware because they don't have the personal experience that we do. Right, Tom?
Right.
Yes. So I had to send my device back multiple times. And okay, yes, it is expensive as hell to keep replacing the entire top face. So after my aunt died, I don't know if it was grief issues surrounding her or what, but same thing had happened. I had been cleaning the device a little bit too much, and there were scratches on the surface, and I decided, you know what, screw this. I'm going to fix this once and for all, because I try to be resourceful, and I try to figure stuff out to the best of my ability. And I took my earbud cord and scratched the hell out of it, because I knew, okay, this is the only way that they are going to fix it. And then, so I went and got it fixed. And then I guess what happened was the next time something happened, I don't remember. I'm so drained. It's been a really weird week, as I think you guys probably are aware, if you've listened to the last video where I talked about where I had my seizure and everything with my mom's health. But basically, I then decided, you know, third time's the charm, as they say. I'm not even going to bother my mother with this. I'm going to sit down, be an adult, advocate for myself, like so many of our vision teachers have drilled into us, have they not, Thomas?
Yep.
What are you doing?
Sorry, I was blowing my nose. Sorry.
Okay. So many of our teachers have drilled into us about, you know, advocate for yourself, blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
And I never thought I was going to get a track, but I basically sat down, and my vocational counselor that I had, luckily, has a disability. She's hearing impaired.
Yep.
And I explained to her that, you know, here is what has happened to me in the past. You know, here are some reasons that I need it.
Right.
Here are some reasons why. You know, I said a lot of stuff like, I don't use the GPS that much, but it might help. It does help to be able to know sometimes where I am. I use it for my daily driver, whether I'm listening to books, listening to the internet radio,
Right.
Whatever the case is. I have had multiple times where I've had to send it back. Some reasons I've had to send it back are liquid getting into it because I don't know what I'm doing,
Yeah.
et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And she then emailed me back and said, this was back when I was in the vision program, which we can totally do another Storytime video for that.
Yeah.
One day, because that was bullshit too.
We could even do it in this video if you want.
Okay. So basically, we'll get back to the touch tangent in a little bit, shall we?
Yeah.
But this is a video of tangents, whatever.
There you go.
Thanksgiving special for doing everything blind. Haley and Thomas rant.
There you go. Yeah.
So because of the fact that my mother was a vision teacher and she changed her entire career for me and to make the lives of so many people better, I decided I want to be a vision teacher. And this was back when I was doing college, and I don't know if have I explained to you guys, have I explained to the viewers about how for a long time my needs weren't taken into account?
Nope.
Okay.
I don't think so. I don't think you talked about that in the last video.
All right. Let's just
that you were in.
Let's just keep going tangent wise,
Yeah, why not?
so that things make sense, shall we?
Go ahead. Go right ahead.
Okay. So, as you guys know in this video, as I've told you, I have sensory processing disorder. And I have been very blessed and very thankful to have teachers that understand, and for the longest time, I had the services I need. And, you know, I think because this has been such a year from hell, it's time to just talk about it.
Absolutely, yeah.
So, I think you should just keep all this in, because I know our viewers like our chatting videos. What do you think?
Yes, they do.
Okay, so no edits, no nothing.
I don't know how to edit.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. Anywho, let's see if Haley Tyrrell can actually form an actual sentence today that makes sense, shall we? It's been a hell of a day.
Yeah.
Anywho, my blind friend Stephanie, which, Steph, if you are listening, I miss you so much. You're a great friend. I hope you're doing well in Colorado. I hope your puppy dog's doing good. You're great. I love you. Anyway, 5th grade, she moved in from Des Plaines, Illinois.
Okay.
And up until then, I was the only blind kid in Sycamore. My mother was on the school board for 15 years. She made so much happen for me.
Mm-hmm.
And focusing on me, and I'm not trying to sound selfish when I'm saying
you're good.
this, but for the longest time, one of the services I had was occupational therapy. And among many things, well, when Stephanie came, that was a big, 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 big change for me. Because up until then, it had been Haley, 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 Haley. And again, guys, I'm not trying to sound self-centered at all whatsoever.
You're good.
So, 6th grade rolled around. We both moved to the middle school. We both were blessed to have an amazing teacher, Mrs. O. If you are listening, Donna O'Hagan, Mrs. O, you were an amazing teacher to both of us. And I love you very, very, very much. And I am not trying to say this next statement to bash you or anybody at all whatsoever. Out of a lack of knowledge, when I had my IEP that year, OT was taken out of the picture. And she has even told me a million times, because OT was eliminated, I didn't think SPD was such a big part of you.
Yeah.
And so when in high school and stuff, I had to really just pretend like SPD wasn't a thing. And there were so many times where I would be so good at faking the funk at school, and I'd come home and I'd lose my freaking mind. There was one time where I came home one day, and those of you who use pictures in a flash, if you guys remember that back in the day, you cannot just puff up a diagram for every single blind person and expect that person to be able to understand what it is that you are having them learn.
Right.
And I remember it was about the water cycle. And what they did for me was they just puffed up the drawing that everybody else was giving me. No, the sighted people were given. No adaptations, no explanation. It was just learn the diagram and memorize where all the parts were. Well, it just felt like a big blob. And that, among many things, was very difficult for me. But I'm just using this as an example.
Right.
I came home that day. I was so pissed off, and my dad could tell I was not in a good mood. He goes, "Come here." "What?" "Punch me." "What?" "Yeah, hit me. Beat the shit out of me." And I'm a twig, guys. I was wailing on my dad. He's a pretty big guy. He's standing there trying not to fall over. And my mom comes home and goes, "Jeff, where'd you get those bruises from?" He goes, "Your daughter." So fast forward then to when I was about ready to transition from Kishwaukee College to NIU. Again, shout out Dana Brasso, if you are listening. You were, as we've talked about, you were Meg's teacher for so long. I told you guys remember, the viewers remember Meg, right, Tom?
Of course, yeah.
Right. Somehow, somebody must have...
For my new subscribers, Meg is my ex-girlfriend. Go ahead.
Yes. Meg was also one of my mother's very beloved students.
Yeah.
And somehow, somebody must have heard me tell Meg, if Miss Dana can't be your teacher, I want to work with her.
Yeah.
So this was probably a good thing that we ended my 5th year program, if you will, on the right foot, because she made sure at my last IEP, at my last re-eval, that SPD was something that was taken into account.
Right.
We had an OT come in and do the checklist and all that stuff.
Right.
But one of the things that we did was we went to NIU to look at the vision program because I wanted to go there.
Right.
Because of the fact that my mother wanted me to.
Right.
And I think a lot of it was due to a lot of ignorance on my part, but because I had to ignore my SPD for so long and pretend like it wasn't a thing, this was how I was feeling before SPD was taken back into account. Anyway, we went there, and the lady who was in charge of the program basically tried to discriminate against me and tell me, well, you can't do that because you're blind. I'm going to tell you guys the same thing my mother and my dad have told me ever since I was little. It doesn't matter what disability you have. You can do any damn thing you set your mind to.
Mm-hmm.
So don't you dare let anybody try to tell you, oh, you can't do that. Shut up.
Mm-hmm.
Who's the real ignorant one here? The person who's trying to tell you that you can't do X, Y, Z.
Right.
Because they don't know. There are way, and I don't mean for this to be a rant, okay?
No, you're good. Go.
There are way too many educated idiots in this country. There are way too many people who get passed on from grade to grade to grade to grade to grade without actually learning anything.
Right.
And unfortunately, that's what some of these people are that work with us.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that in a mean way. But one of the requirements of the state of Illinois is that you have to pass. You have to learn the U.S. Constitution in and out in order to graduate high school. Is that a requirement for you in Connecticut, Tom?
I don't know.
Okay. Well, I'm going to tell you something right now. It should be. Because our Constitution, and again, I'm not trying to give you guys a history lesson, but our Constitution is the document upon which our country was built.
Yeah.
And because of the fact that my needs were not taken into account, which is kind of how this tangent started, isn't it, Thomas?
Mm-hmm.
I learned nothing in school.
Yeah.
I learned absolutely nothing. And my mom actually went to NIU and talked to this lady who was coincidentally one of her former classmates, I believe. Mm-hmm. And basically they tried to discriminate against me for, with like, there were too many roadblocks. I had a lot of good teachers. They were amazing in person. One guy, one of my friends actually, his name is Brad. He's also blind. Brad, shout out. It's your little pretzel here. You're a great guy. His wife is very, 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 very similar to me. She is also blind. Mm-hmm. And he was, I believe, discriminated against the same way. He is now a blind O&M instructor. and a blind vision rehab therapist.
Wow.
And he had a guide dog named Delaney, who she was very much like my dog. Are you sure I can just keep talking?
Go ahead.
Sure this is okay?
Go right ahead.
Okay. And basically, he was super, super accommodating to me in class. I'm sure you guys know, if you are guide dog users, there's a vest that the dog wears that it'll say, "Do not feed, do not pet." Well, there was one time where I really just could not handle being in those rooms because the buildings are old and decrepit. I've nicknamed NIU Sensory Hell University because that particular building that the vision classes were in, oh my God, I couldn't handle it.
Yeah.
So one day, Brad and I were sitting next to each other in class, and, not like as a boyfriend-girlfriend type thing, but just we happened to be. And I accidentally reached down and petted Delaney because I was trying not to go out of my freaking mind because there's buzzing fluorescent lights, there's the computers, there's the fan, and all kinds of stuff. And I'm sitting there. I physically can't puke, guys, because I have a stomach wrap because I was such a preemie. And I'm sitting there trying not to feel like I want to throw up, which I physically can't do, which is probably very dangerous.
Yeah.
And I accidentally reached down and I petted her. And that felt so good. This dog is so smart. She can sense multiple people's needs. There are times this puppy will not leave Brad's wife during the day because she's quite similar to me. I'm a lot more severe on the SPD spectrum. She has her own problems as well. But there are times that Delaney will not leave, his wife's name is Nicole, will not leave Nicole's side.
Yeah.
Because she's that smart. She's so smart they almost didn't let her in the guide dog program, which is bullshit. But so then, these are the types of people that we need. Brad and I then, after class, we went into the lounge, and my mother ended up taking him home because he lived so close to NIU. And what happened was we went into the lounge, and I felt so bad. And I said, "Brad, I'm so sorry. I accidentally petted your dog. I know you really shouldn't do that."
Right.
And this is the type of person we need more of. He then said to me, it's okay. And this was back before he nicknamed me a little pretzel. He goes, "It's okay, Haley." He calls me a little pretzel because I'm tightly wound and I'm tiny, like a pretzel. He said, "It's okay. You can pet Delaney anytime you want. I know that really helps you. I'm saying that because you're my friend, and I don't let many people pet Delaney."
Right.
So we created a system so that Delaney would be there for him, obviously, because he's her handler. He would sit next to me in class, so that Delaney could essentially be there for both of us.
Right.
And so that she would be sitting in between us, so that if Delaney could sense that I needed her, or if I needed her, she was right there for me to pet.
Right.
And it got to the point where if Delaney and Brad saw me in the hallway, Delaney would pull Brad toward me. I want to see Haley.
Yeah.
Because guys, not many. I don't know how many of you guys watch guide dog channels or other blind people that have guide dogs. Molly Burke, for example. Again, Daniel, you got me into her. I love her. She just got a new guide dog. Not everybody's going to allow you to pet your dog, but guide dogs are amazing and they're so helpful. And they are very, 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 very good at sensing multiple people's needs.
Right.
And sensing even not just multiple people, but understanding what their owner needs and stuff like that.
Right.
And we did that for 16 weeks. And so then it got to the point where I was ready to drop out. I was ready to be done. I tried to email my vocational counselor, and I tried to talk to her about all this stuff. And my mom got all PO'd with me, and she said, "You're going to ruin your funding, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da." And the best thing for me that came out of COVID, I realize we're still in a pandemic. I realize it scares the shit out of everybody. The best thing that came out of the pandemic for me was online learning.
Right.
Because it's allowed me to really think about what I wanted to do and what I don't want to do.
Right.
And that's the thing, I guess, is circling back to the conversation that we had originally.
Yeah.
I originally would have, had I stayed in the vision program, done clinical blocks this last semester, which with my mother's help, there would have been no way on God's green earth that I would have been able to even manage that. They could not guarantee me the placement I wanted, and they were being very vague, and they would say, "Oh, it's going to be itinerant and or resource," or something like that. I don't quite remember. Okay, and or? What the beep does that mean?
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's almost like you people are not wanting to...
Yeah.
It's almost like you people are not wanting to help me and do what I need.
Right.
And... you know, there are too many people who have their own agenda, and they don't think about what does the person want.
Or need.
Yes, what does the person want? What does the person need? Going back to SPD. Do you mind, Thomas?
No, go ahead. Go right ahead.
Okay. I'm just doing this because it's a necessary rant for me to get out. Thomas, explain to the audience what happened on Tuesday last year.
Tuesday?
With me, November 23rd, 2020.
So on November 23rd, 2020, which was a Monday, Haley had a seizure. It was, I believe, at 1:30 in the morning.
Yes.
My time.
Yes.
It was very scary for everyone.
Yes, absolutely. And then what happened when we went to the hospital?
Your mom your mom and Daniel were on FaceTime.
Yes.
And out of the kindness of Daniel's heart, he said, "I will stay with Haley during the day, and if anything happens, I will text you right away."
Yes. And, you know, I think a lot of families of people with disabilities and friends and
I don't know what his
vocational-
I don't know what his exact words were, but
that is exactly what his exact words were, and I was very out of it, but I remember him saying that as clear as day.
Yeah.
And my mother actually started crying.
Yeah.
You know, I think a lot of families of people with disabilities and friends and acquaintances and people who work with us, the people who provide our services that we need, do not understand how life-changing something like that is.
Right.
So going back to SPD, so many things after I seized and scared the shit out of everybody, including myself, changed so much. I think I told you guys in a previous video, my mom has not, and she's not doing this to be a mother hen, okay? I'm going to tell you guys right now, there is a difference. There is a big difference between being protective for medical and personal reasons and being protective just because of, you know, you're scared.
Yeah.
Because your kid is using a wheelchair or your kid's hearing impaired or whatever the case is.
Right.
And my mother has not and will continue to not, because she has debilitating anxiety, debilitating panic attacks. I believe we went over this in a video previously.
We might have.
She has not let me sleep with my door open. Since this is Thanksgiving, I am going to tell you guys, you need to tell the ones that you love them while they're still around.
Absolutely. Yep.
Tell them every day how much you love and appreciate them so very much. Because, again, I know I'm mentioning Daniel a lot.
It's okay.
But he has been a godsend to the Tyrrell family.
Yeah.
He truly has. Yeah. Not every, and this goes back to the counselor thing too. these counselors that work with us, the people that work with us, the best people that work with us are the ones that have the big hearts, as big as Texas, and that care so much about us and don't just do this for the money.
Right.
They do it because they love the people they work with. They do it because they care.
Exactly.
So many things for me in the past year have changed so much. Daniel and I went from having an ordinary conversation about my sensory diet, which is something that was taken out of the picture when OT was taken away from me, to then him telling me out of the blue, because his sister is an OT,
Yeah.
we need to put that back in place for you, dear.
Right.
I could hardly believe what I was hearing. I could hardly believe what I was hearing. I was needing that for 11 years. 11 freaking years since my teachers stupidly decided, oh, no, she doesn't need OT. She's doing fine.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see, what else? Every single time that I go into my room, and Daniel and my mother both have drilled this into me, and I don't mean that in a bad way. They gently drilled it into me. Every single time I go in my room.
Shutting door. Yeah.
If like right now, I'm awake, and I've told my mom, and I've kept this very consistent. If I am awake, whether I'm in my room or not, my door is shut.
Right.
If it's at night.
Right.
When I am ready to go to sleep, whether I go in and snuggle with you and Dad, or I sleep in my room, the door is
open.
Yes.
Yep.
And it is extremely, extremely important, especially now that I look back over everything that's happened with me, that, we need to realize, and these counselors need to realize too, it is extremely important for you guys to not be focused on your own agenda,
right,
and have your own rules to follow, and yes, okay, I understand, we all need rules, but come on. In Thomas's case, that Apex is his only computer that he has. The Braille Note Touch is the best thing humanware has ever invented from a computer perspective, from a tablet perspective.
Now, I just want to say real quick here, the Voice Note Apex is not a computer, but it's like a computer.
Yes, the Braille Note Touch is more so like a computer, wouldn't you say?
Yeah. And getting back to the requirements just for a second here, the reason why I don't know about the requirements for Connecticut is because you guys, for my new subscribers, I did not go to high school in Connecticut. I went to school at Perkins School for the Blind, which is in Watertown, Massachusetts.
Yes.
Yeah.
And, we need to be able to, no matter what state you're in, we need to be able to get the services that we need.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It is absolutely ridiculous that people have their rules that they live by, and they just follow mandates. And you know what? Mandates, I understand why we need mandates, especially with COVID and stuff. It's because this is something that people are scared of and they don't know about, and
right.
That's a story for another day. But anybody, no matter if you are a kid or if you're an adult who has a disability, whether you're blind with or without additional disabilities or whatever, you need to get what you need. There is no getting away with it. The reason that your counselors and the reason that people try to tell you, oh, well, you can't have that because you need that. No, that is bullshit. You know what that is counselor speak for? Tom?
Yeah.
What does it counselor speak for? Tell our viewers.
It seems like they don't care.
They don't care. They are not the ones who use the products. They do not want to pay for it.
Right.
Because I'm going to tell you guys something right now. And I understand, okay, our technology, especially the touch is expensive as all hell.
Mm-hmm.
Depending on what size braille display you get. I got an 18 cell.
Yeah.
I have used a 32 cell. At Kish, they actually did get a braille note touch, which is amazing.
Right.
But it is very, 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 very ridiculous that they can't pay for this stuff.
Yeah, it is.
And that they won't, and that they're just being. It seems like they're being selfish.
Yeah, that's what it feels like. It feels like they don't care, and it feels like they're
not wanting to do
being
their
selfish.
job.
Yeah.
They're not wanting to do their job, and they don't realize how hard things are for us.
No, they
And
don't.
I'm not trying to do a pity party here, but like I said, one size does not fit all. Everybody is so different.
Right. And everybody's needs are different.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, the Touch Plus, for me, has turned into what the computer is for most people.
Right.
And we need to be able to get what we need.
Absolutely.
It is a crying shame that so many people are educated idiots. My dad actually, at one of my IEPs, where they wouldn't give me what I needed, stood up and told them, a lot of people are scared to hear the truth, okay? That's what this is. 4 out of the 9 people at this particular meeting decided they were not going to show up, did not notify anybody. They knew that it was a meeting for Haley Tyrrell and that they needed to show up. And nobody notified anybody.
Which is a bunch of bullshit.
It is a bunch of bullshit. And my dad basically stood up and told these people, look. I took off work to come to this meeting, and I don't really care if you guys don't like to hear what I have to say. You people are educated idiots. You're going to give my daughter the services she needs. You're going to give her what she needs. And if you can't, you can go screw off.
Yep.
And they did not like what they were hearing. And they made me very upset. I'm not even going to go off on a tangent about it, but a lot of those people made me upset. I had a special ed director that would always say, oh, you're just making that up. Oh, you're jumping to conclusions. You're just not wanting to do the work and da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. We cannot have people like that in this world. We cannot.
No.
And there are way too many people that just don't understand that. And I mean, we need to get the services that we need. It doesn't matter why, or it doesn't matter how, but
Right.
we need to get what we need.
Yes, we do.
College degree or not, there's so many things that us blind people can do on our own for ourselves.
Right.
That's in our comfort zone for income, like YouTube, for example, or podcast.
Yep.
I learned the other day that podcasts can be free or paid.
Right.
And for people to not understand that, whether it's our families or people that work with us or whatever, they're not understanding out of ignorance.
Right.
You think we should end the video there?
I don't know. It doesn't matter to me. I go all night.
I mean,
I said it doesn't matter to me. If there's other things you want to talk about, we can talk about whatever you want. I got nothing but time.
Well, tell the viewers what you're thinking that you're wanting to say about your Apex.
In the file, I'm going to tell her once again why I need the Braille No Touch, and I'm going to tell her that I'm going to tell her once again that the backspace key feels like it's going to fall off. And I'm going to tell her that it's really important to me that I get this braille, that I get the braille note touch.
And it's not just because the whole job bullshit has nothing. It should not matter.
Nope.
He does not know how to use a computer. He needs a functioning device that can help him grow into the future, not just with,
Yeah.
Not just with journaling and stuff, but it's amazing when things get taken away from us, how much we really appreciate it.
Yep, you don't know what you got until it's gone.
Because us blind people have a hard time doing some stuff that sighted people just take for granted.
Right.
Yeah.
And guys, this machine's old.
It is very old. Very old.
I love the machine, but it's old. I've had it since March of 2011.
Yes, dear. You've had it for 10 years. It is time to get a new one. It's time to sing Kumbaya and have a funeral for it. And,
Yep.
And it is extremely, extremely important that we all get what we need. Like I was saying, I used to use my phone for everything.
Right.
Now that I have a Braille first device that is, I know it wasn't intentional, but really caters to my sensory needs, that touch is essentially what the iPad with a Braille display connected to it has been for years.
Right.
With more perks of human-made specific applications that help us.
Exactly. Yep. And I know one of these days, hopefully it won't be anytime soon, but guys, I know one of these days, either one or two things are going to happen. Either one of these days, the machine is just not going to turn on anymore, or...
Then you're really screwed.
Or the backspace key is going to fall off. And I will be screwed.
And that's one of the perks of touch Braille, and that's one of the things, Thomas, that I think you need to explain to her.
Yeah.
That, and we can definitely try to, get our ducks in a row and put our thoughts together and try to put it into one big file.
Right.
But there are so many things that these people need to understand that the Apex can not do, but the touch can. A job should not matter.
Should we talk about the space bar on
Daniel's? Oh, yeah. Yes. So Daniel has the exact same problem with his Apex. The
space bar fell
not
off,
the
right?
backspace key, but it's the space bar that
it fell off, right?
Broke off. Yep.
Yeah.
And they won't get him a touch.
Which is ridiculous.
And they won't apply. He was denied for SSI, which is ridiculous. I don't know. Do you have supplemental security income or whatever?
I get SSI.
Yes. See, that's the thing. It's not us blind people being lazy. It's not us not wanting to be mature, grow up, whatever.
Right.
We have to do what we need to do and what is best for us.
Right.
As blind adults. We don't have life as easy as you sighted folks.
That's for sure.
And the sighted people that do understand that, bless you.
Yeah. Now, a little while ago, you were talking about your sensory diet. For those who don't know what a sensory diet is, would you mind explaining what it is and how it works? Do you mind?
Okay, so a sensory diet is basically kind of an OT prescribed. In a way, I describe it as medication. A diet, in the traditional sense of the word, is certain foods that you eat, right? And we all don't have a balanced food diet, but our bodies need various nutrients to help us to stay healthy.
Right.
It's the same type of thing with a sensory diet. There's with SPD, you can be a sensory seeker or a sensory avoider, or you can be a combination of both. And a sensory seeker is like, how many times have you woke up one day and have been like, I need my coffee. I really need my coffee so bad.
Right.
Same type of thing with sensory seeking. There are certain forms of sensory input that our brains, the brains of people with SPD, we have this, it's not a food craving, but it's a sensory craving. So, like, for me, I've always liked to spin. Feel free, Thomas, to jump in if you want.
Okay.
You've been a spinner too, haven't you?
When I was a kid, I spun in the living room.
Yep. And I do the exact same thing. And for the longest time, even before I didn't have a sensory diet anymore, in between times of transitions, I would spin. I go to the right, but if I go to the left, I look like a dork, and I get dizzy, and I don't know where I am, and I look like I'm drunk. Mm-hmm. If I go to the right, I look like an ice skater. I can spin for hours. Mm-hmm. And so basically what we did was, and Thomas, feel free to jump in if you want.
Okay.
The conversation that we had was, he was telling me, we need to put that back in place for you.
What she mean when she says he, she's talking about Daniel, by the way. Yes.
So we were kind of just having a regular old conversation about what kind of stuff I used to do, because when I was little, they didn't have anybody to sit with me before school so that I could do my sensory diet, which I did in the mornings and after meals. Mm-hmm. So when I went to school, it was in the morning. I had kind of a routine that my dad and I did when we were at home, which wasn't OT prescribed, but we would sit in the rocking chair and we would rock for a little bit, and then he'd take me in the bathroom and he'd brush my teeth, and then we'd go to breakfast, and then we would go to school. And he was the one who then would sit with me beforehand for 45 minutes, and this is where things really changed for me this year, because this is what I was telling Dan. We would sit there, and at the time, and a sensory diet can change. A sensory diet does not always have to be the same sort of thing. When I was little, for me, it just happens to be similar. The same, because I've always needed sameness and routine and normality. So when I was little, it was, I had a therapeutic listening CD that I would listen to, which my dad thinks that's a bunch of bullshit too, because one day he decided, let's change it up. Let's listen to, if you guys know the band Train, at the time their album My Private Nation had come out. And my dad had gotten me one for my room and a copy for his car. So one day he said, let's have you listen, instead of the therapeutic listening, let's change it up. Why don't we listen to Train while you're doing stuff? And I had a great day. My vision teacher was so pissed off because she was very much my way or the highway, but I had a very, very good day. And that's why my dad thinks that a lot of these people are educated idiots. Yeah. But basically what we did, my sensory diet back then was something to the effect of listening to something, whether it was my therapeutic listening, for a little bit, and then I would play with Play-Doh or putty or other toys, and then at the end I would go on the sit and spin. Right. Now, when I have been at home, and I did this after lunch and after and during before school, and then I did do that stuff at home as well. I think I did listening after school, etc. So I was telling Daniel about all this, and he knows that I have gotten so many sensory toys from a couple different websites. Therapy Shop is one, Fun and Function, Amazon, Go Therapy Shop, Fun and Function. Your sites are amazing. And so what we did was he and I created a new sensory diet where normally Can you explain to them about the time and how we've changed that up?
Well, when Haley had her seizure, that's after she had her seizure. That's when.
That's when all of this was put back in place.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
So normally for me, assuming of course I don't have a bunch of crap going on with my mom's health, which that's been it's been for a long time that things have been like that.
Yeah.
Ideally, if things are not going wrong, a sensory diet is 45 minutes. And what he has me do is I'll start out, instead of the therapeutic listening, we've changed that to my Victor track, and I'll listen to the radio or whatever I want.
Yeah.
I'll spin for a little bit, and I use the sleep timer on my track, which, guys, that used to scare the shit out of me. Now I can't live without it. Sleep, 45 minutes. So I'll spin, and then I'll go into the living room, or I'll sit in my mushy smushy beanbag chair, and I will listen to, or I'll play with whatever toys I want. If it's a 45-minuter, he has me pick 2 toys, not including my putty, whether that's the scented putty or unscented, because I do have aromatherapy scented putties, and Crazy Aaron's thinking putty. But while I play with whatever toys I want, he will have me sit with, like right now I'm sitting in my glider rocking chair, and I have a couple lap pads that, I love them so much, I have 2 of them, that are scented. They're 3.5 pounds, and they have real lavender essential oil in it, and they're very nice and tactile and bumpy, and they feel really nice and soft. And I will either sit with that or one of my other ones. He's pretty and bearing in mind, guys, he's not a certified OT.
No.
This is just something that he just came up with out of instinct.
Yeah.
Because he loves me so much. And what were you saying?
I was gonna say, for the people who might be wondering exactly what happened, because maybe there are some people who are wondering exactly what happened with your seizure. Do you want to tell them about everything that happened, like walk them through that night and the next day and then the day after?
Yes. After I tell them about my sensory diet.
Okay.
So, I will play with a couple toys. Usually I kind of stick to the same patterns of toys, depending on how I feel.
Yeah.
But that's something that he gives me free reign, whatever I want to play with. And I've got more sensory toys than Carter's got pills. I've got fidget spinners, fidget cubes, a whole bunch of marble mazes. I have this marble maze cuff that seems to be a standard toy during any sensory diet that I don't know why. Normally, guys, I don't like spandex. I love this thing. It's a compression style cuff on your wrist, and it squeezes your wrist. It gives you nice compression, and there's a marble inside this maze that's embroidered all around the cuff, and you can move it around and fiddle with it. It's amazing. Then I'll play with a couple toys. If it's a 45-minuter, he's got me playing with 2 toys, not including my putty. If it's an hour, he has me playing with 3 toys, not including putty. So it's spinning, regardless of what it is. Spinning, go in the rocking chair or in my beanbag chair with my lap pad, listen to the track still throughout all of this, play with a couple toys, whether it's 2 to 3, and then at the very end, when I am ready, again, this is all when Haley is ready, but the only requirement then is at the very end, after I play with whatever I want, after my sensory cravings for those toys have been fulfilled, then I play with putty, whether it's my aromatherapy, so lavender, peppermint, or lemon. A lot of the times I do play with the lavender, but I have played with peppermint and lemon too. And it's really interesting too, because with the lavender, I get a kind of like a double dose, because I've got the lap pad that's really putting that lavender through my nostrils while I'm smelling it because it's on my lap, and then that lavender putty, which has natural essential oil in it as well.
Right.
So then, and then after, and he has me, and I'm sure you guys are wondering, well, what is it with an hour? Excuse my TMI, but if it's my time of the month, if I have Aunt Flo, he has me doing it for an hour. Mm-hmm. In the morning when I wake up, after breakfast, after lunch, after dinner. Mm-hmm. And I understand, and we went over this too, because I was getting kind of antsy about it. I understand completely if I can't do all 4 sensory diets during the day.
Right.
That would be ideal. Ideally, it would be all 4 times a day. But the right way for me to really start off my mornings is to at least do my morning one. After I eat, if I have a little snack and it's not just a full meal, then he's okay with me just spinning a little bit.
Right.
And then at night, I have a nighttime sensory diet that is a little bit different.
Right.
No toys, no sensory items at all whatsoever. But he has me do it for a half hour.
Right.
And so when I'm good and ready to go to sleep, because you guys know, you do too, Tom, that there are times that I'm a night owl.
Right.
So when I get done talking to you or whatever, and I'm ready to go to sleep, he has me with no toys or anything, because this is really me winding down.
Right.
And we kind of capitalized on what I already do. I'll just sit here and listen to my track or whatever.
Right.
So what we did was, I start out, I set that sleep timer for a half hour. I'll sit in my beanbag chair in my room and listen to my track for a little bit. And again, he hasn't put any sort of time constraints except for that half hour. So, whenever you're ready.
Right.
Whenever you are ready to do this, you are the one who's, going with what your brain is telling you that you need.
Right.
And then after I sit in my mushy smushy for a little bit and rock, then I come out here, sit in my rocking chair and rock and listen to my track. And I know when it says sleep, time remaining, 1 minute. A lot of the time, because I still use the device, and this is no matter what time, day or night, I turn the device off. Or not turn the device off, but I turn my sleep timer off, because when it says 1 minute, that's when I know, okay, time to go put stuff away and carry on with the rest of my day.
Right.
That alone, having a home-based sensory diet for the first time in 11 years, guys, is huge. That is an example right there of somebody getting what they need. Mm-hmm. And somebody caring enough.
Right.
And it's to the point that he even tells my mother, remind her to do her sensory diet. The fact that we've done that, guys, right there is what collaboration looks like. Mm-hmm. He's not a certified OT, and he doesn't want to be, and that's okay. But that is what collaboration looks like. That is what I didn't have for so long.
Right.
Because the vision people are collaborating with OT.
Yeah.
And vision person in this case is my mom.
Right. So, thank you for explaining all that. Now, do you want to talk about what happened, or?
Yes. So, I was listening. So, Daniel and I were originally going to record that day for our podcast that we had. And Monday was going to be the day that we were going to record that blind crochet show. For those of you who remember Daniel's Technology and More, when I took over as podcast co-host when him and Meg were no longer doing the podcast. Mondays was our day that we were going to record that particular thing. Well, it's kind of hard to record when your friend's in the hospital and doesn't have her phone. So apparently what happened was my mom went to and this was totally hunky-dory. Dan and I had hung up. I was going to have a good day. Everything was going to be totally fine. We hung up probably at 11:50, 11:55, midnight.
Yeah.
So then she being my mom, went into the bathroom, and at this time my door was shut, and she heard me make a very weird moaning noise. And she came in, and I was stiff. And I was shaking.
And she bit her tongue in her sleep. Haley did.
Yes, I bit my tongue in my sleep. And my mom woke my dad up out of a sound sleep and scared the shit out of him.
Yeah.
And my mom called 911. And the paramedics came, and they tried to get me on the gurney. And I apparently had peed in my bed. And I was on the tail end of Aunt Flo, which... again, excuse my TMI, but this week she started the day before the anniversary of when I seized.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm just in my head going, what does this all mean?
Right.
And so the paramedics got me to the hospital, and I was really fighting them, apparently. I tried to headbutt one, I bit one. They were scared to touch me because I was because I'm such a twig, and I'm stronger than a lot of them, but I didn't want, they didn't want to hurt me. And my dad apparently got up in my face and said, God damn it, Haley, you need to let them do what they need to do. And I apparently said, okay, Daddy. I don't remember that at all whatsoever. The next thing I know, I'm in the hospital, and my mom had to get special permission to stay with me because of COVID. Because they don't allow anybody in there. And again, sorry if I'm repeating myself, guys, but the next thing I know, I hear my mom talking to Daniel. And I remember it as clear as day. I remember it as clear as if it were yesterday. My mom was sitting in a chair to the left of my hospital bed, and we were talking. I was laying there, and she was talking to him. And apparently what had happened on my end was he had tried to get a hold of me a couple times and could not, because my phone was not there, obviously. And my mother had gotten his email address from me, because she knows how to get into my Apple ID. You know, not in a stalkery way, but just in case she needs to.
Yeah.
And she emailed Dan and told him what had happened to me. And so then she called him back, and at the time he had silence unknown callers on, which, guys, that's probably a good idea, especially with all those scam callers. The only time that he happens to answer, call people back is if they leave him a voicemail. Well, she did leave a voicemail.
Yeah.
So then Dan put her number in his phone immediately and FaceTimed him, or FaceTimed her. And my mom and him talked, and out of the kindness of his heart, he then told my mother, I will stay with Haley during the day. And we had only known each other for a couple months. We met last year in March. I will stay with Haley during the day, and if one thing happens, I will text her. I will text you right away. I have your number in my phone. I have no problem being with her during the day.
Yeah.
And so, from that very, very, very next day, then what happened too was, after I talked to him, my mom kept Daniel in the loop over text. They were texting back and forth, and she was filling him in on everything that was happening.
Right. Now, the reason why you peed your bed is because you had no control over your body, right?
Correct. Loss of bodily control. Yep.
Yeah.
And so my mother explained to him everything that was going on through me getting my MRI and the CAT scan and every single thing. One of the things that he also has been instructed by my mother to do. And guys, if you have a friend like this or a significant other like this, be grateful, because there are so many self-centered assholes in this world. My mother instructed him, please, please, please make sure whatever you do that Haley eats during the day.
Right.
Because one of the things they found out, now with seizures, there is no unifying cause. And I know this because I have a friend who is also sadly epileptic.
Yeah.
And it's very scary for all the people involved.
Right.
And he's also blind.
Yeah.
But he being Daniel, was, my mom and him were talking about it, and when I got my blood test back, they found out that one of the reasons I seized was my vitamin B, D, and iron were very, very dangerously low.
Right.
And in a way, he has virtually taken my Aunt Paulette's place. My aunt had a heart as big as Texas. I mentioned her dying a few minutes ago. My aunt babysat me for next to nothing.
Yeah.
Daniel is volunteering his time and his generosity to be with me every single day over FaceTime, because, guys, he has a heart of gold.
Yep.
He truly does.
Yep.
He truly does. He is the reason my mother is able to go to work every day, whether she is at work, whether she's working from home, or whether she's traveling, okay? He's the reason that she can go to work every day and at least not have a panic attack about her little girl.
Right.
My dad texted him the other day and told him, feel free to text me at any time for any reason. Thank you for being such a good friend to my little girl. You know, ever since, throughout everything, and I'm not trying to go on a tangent about my mom's health, but throughout everything that has been going on with her health, she has really relied on him. He has been my virtual Aunt Paulette, for so long.
Right.
And I've told him, I've always called her Auntie. You've virtually taken Auntie's place.
Right.
And that is something that the Tyrrell family very greatly appreciates. Throughout all the times that my mother has had debilitating panic attacks, and throughout all the times that she has had to go to the hospital for so many things, it has been largely because of Daniel Semrau that my mother has not freaked out.
Right.
It's because of him virtually being with me every single day.
Yep.
That I am able to safely, because of my mother, being picky about it, that I'm allowed to take a shower.
Yep.
Especially because of what happened last year, she's so worried about me falling. And our house is very old and it's not that accessible.
Yeah.
My mom actually yelled at me one night because there was water all over the floor. Because I used to have a very hard time drying myself off. It's because of everything that he has put in place, sensory diet-wise and OT-wise and predictability-wise, that I am finally comfortable with learning to do so many things.
Right.
We're making up for so much lost time. I kid you not, guys. He and I went over how to properly dry myself off. He has sat with me over FaceTime while I have dried off, and he has prompted me and coaxed me through how to do it properly, if that makes any sense.
Yep.
And my mother is very, very, very appreciative of him.
Yeah. Yep.
Anything you want to say?
I
mean, this is turning out to be kind of a tangent video, whatever.
That's all right. Well, it's just what I would say is, if there are things in your life that you need, then, and if you're not getting those things, fight for what you need.
Absolutely,
And
fight
fight
for what you need.
want.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Why don't we sign off and just post this video for listeners to hear?
Yep, absolutely. Guys,
Alrighty.
Thanks so much for listening or watching this video. Please subscribe, like I said, to Daniel's channel. I almost said Daniel's Technology and More, but that's not the name of his channel. Daniel Sumro main channel. And please subscribe to my channel, Doing Everything Blind. And thank you so much for coming on my channel. And I hope we can do a video again soon. That'd be cool. Yeah. So, you guys, take care.